This episode of Speak Now, Hold Your Peace is brought to you in part by Green Sister Botanicals, plant-based hair and body care. Visit greensister.com for your hair and body care needs. She's good! She's good! Every time there's a shooting, people are saying, we need more gun control.
That's just human nature.
Welcome to Speak Now, Hold Your Peace, a live broadcast with real conversations about community social issues, politics, business, health, self-care, and more. We broadcast live on the Speak Now, Hold Your Peace Facebook group and the Speak Now, Hold Your Peace YouTube channel. And now, here's your host, Say What I Feel, Dre.
Welcome to Speak Now, Hold Your Peace. I'm Say What I Feel, Dre, and in the building. Oh, sorry, I had mute. I'm sorry. I felt like it's cool. But look, I'm too arrogant to be embarrassed. So let's do it over. Start it over. Welcome to Speak Now, Hold Your Peace. I'm Say What I Feel, Dre, and today we're going to talk about child support, the whole system as a whole. We're going to talk about different things. And it's a fully loaded topic, so I fully loaded my gun. And I got some guns. I got some bullets here. I got a bullet named Ali. I got a bullet named Derek. I got a bullet named Keith. I got a bullet named Yemi. And I'm going to fire back because they got all the information. We're going to be firing knowledge. You hear me? Opinions, knowledge, and just what we know. We're going to share our experiences so you don't have to go through any of the stuff that you don't have to. Okay. So this episode, I was real careful about who I chose to do this episode. I didn't want anybody who was just one-sided or just was like, my baby's mother or my baby's father is this and that. We're not insulting people here. We're here to listen to my guests' experiences, their knowledge, just so somebody else don't have to go through the same thing, or they could be a little bit smarter in how they approach obtaining custody or obtaining child support. So I want to say what's up to my guests first. Ali, how you doing? What's going on?
Hi, Dre. Hello, everyone.
All right. Derek, what's going on, my brother?
What's up, man? What's up? Good to see you.
Derek the cool one, y'all. He don't get excited. It's like, what's up? What's up? I got my man Keith. All right, Keith, what's going on, my brother?
I'm all good, brother. How you doing?
Okay, all right. We got the Barry White. We got the Barry White up in here. Okay, ladies. Don't be texting me, ladies. You want his number and all that, because I don't have it. All right, I got my man Yemi. What's going on, brother?
Dre, what's up, man?
Man.
What's up, everybody?
All right, we just trying to make $1 out of 15 cents. You know what I'm saying?
Done.
So look,
Let's
man, I want to start, and usually I kind of start with, some basic questions, but I want to just say one thing before we start. I've read some of the child support comments and stuff on video chats and stuff like that. And you'd be surprised. I heard a lot of people say, that's why they pretty much said that's why I don't get into relationships or have kids, because I don't want to go down this road. And I thought that was just the craziest thing, because you are depriving yourself probably a relationship with your significant other or having kids. You're sacrificing your happiness with a family and kids because you think or assume that things are going to go bad, which I think is crazy. So if any of those people are watching, don't take a chance in life. It's better to, and this is so cliche, it's better to have loved than and lost than to not have any love at all. So don't let stuff like child support and all that stuff stop you from finding someone or just having starting a family with somebody. Because we take chances. Things happen. You can go out and die. And go out to the store and die, God forbid. But, take some chances in life. So I just wanted to say that because that was on my mind all day. But so let's get going. So first question. Now I know a few of you, three and most of you have been in the child support, not been in the child support system, but you've been involved with child support. And I would love to know real quickly, just a quick summary. How was your experience with that? And I'm gonna start with you, Ali. How was your experience with the child support system?
Well, I work in child welfare,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm in family court all the time. So it kind of trickles down to we've had cases where sometimes either the father or mother, and it when the case is initially open, that they can be granted custody right then and there, and then take that to custody court, and then it's honored there, or uh, depending on the case, we deal with parents who are going through custody court, and then sometimes, depending on the situation, I will actually give testimony on regarding the family court case and actually what I've seen during my interaction with both parents.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So um, it's kind of challenging because when you kind of work with either parent, because it's such a personal situation that it can turn into more so uh, them taking things personal, especially if it's not going in their favor. And I'm
Right.
speaking of my interaction
Right. Right. Right.
with them. When it's not personal, I just have to give facts on the situation on both
Mm-hmm.
parents.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah, that's funny that you say that because when I did, and I'm going to reference this a lot, when I was um, doing probation in the family division that involved child support, I would have to take information for the particular application and all that stuff, and I would write it down, and they would tell me stuff, and I wouldn't really react to it. For one, um, it's not my job to react to it or just kind of be that shoulder to cry on, because that can end bad. And two, I've heard it so many times that whatever story it was, um, I heard it so many times that it's just like, okay, it's just somebody filing again, going through this again, and don't get it mixed up. I felt bad for him, but I didn't want to be their shoulder to cry on. So I understand people are just like they've blamed me for they've accused me of being so like cold and harsh, and when I'm not, it's just that I can't get involved with the okay cry on my shoulder, because now it could be like I'm showing favoritism. So I totally get that people
mhm.
it's just hard. You got to stay on that fence, and you can't fall on either side as someone taking in that information, especially if they're both there to file. Derek, how was your experience with the child support system?
Uh, in the beginning, it was horrible. Um, it got better, uh, but overall, it still wasn't a good. It wasn't a good look.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. Just the fact of having to be there and having the child in the middle of the situation. That's never good.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
like I said, it was horrible in the beginning. It got better for me, but overall, it was not a good. It was not a good situation.
Right, right. Keith, now I know you had some issues in that mediator thing. When we
Mhm.
get to that, I'm going to let you explain your story. But that mediator thing, that was crazy, man. I
Yeah,
spoke with Keith, and
yeah.
he told me a story about that, and I can't wait for him to tell you guys that. But overall, Keith, how was your experience with the child support system?
It was very frustrating. It was very, very frustrating because constantly having to go back and forth to the child support office, um, constantly feeling like I was being penalized for all the men who weren't doing what they were supposed to do. And it
Mm.
Fact.
seemed like the more I tried to do the right thing, the more they seemed to penalize me for it. And I agree with Derek. It got better toward the end, because I ended up just paying it all off in one lump sum
Mm-hmm.
just to get it out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just overall, it was a very, very frustrating experience.
Wow. Wow.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I know you know, you used to work in the family division. You're doing something different now, a different division, but does all this sound familiar?
Yeah, it does, man. When I was a caseworker with the child support enforcement unit,
Mm-hmm.
I think the most challenging part was remaining neutral.
Right. Right.
I often had parties that would want me to sway more towards their stance. But just like what Ali said, our job is to uh, remain professional, um, and be as neutral as possible.
Right.
I think
Right.
that was the most hardest part, and to keep the emotions out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think from my experience, what a lot of the litigants looked for was someone that they could talk to in terms of a worker that wouldn't judge them.
Right. Right.
Um, because just like Keith and Derek, I don't know what they have been through. So who am I to have an opinion or to judge them when they come to the counter?
Right.
So again, just like what Ali said, it was just strictly the process that I had to reiterate to them. And
Right.
but a lot of times that's not what they wanted to hear at the time. But you know, um,
Yeah. Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
that was the hardest part, is to remain neutral and independent
Right.
in the
Yeah.
job.
And it's crazy. You're right, because this. Let me tell you, man. In Jersey, and I'll be referencing Jersey, and I'll be referencing Pennsylvania, and I'll be referencing. Well, Keith will be referencing his state also. Um, in Jersey, you can file, and every state probably has it. It's just a different name for it. You can file an emergency hearing, and you know, those are situations in which, you know, the mother may have gotten to an accident. There's nobody to take the child. Or, you know, not so much something like that. Just in general, like there's some issues going on with the mother, you know, rehab or whatever, doing drugs, or the father's doing drugs, or, you know, and somebody says, look, we got to get custody of this child because they are in an unsafe living environment. So people would file um, emergency hearings, and that's fine, stuff like that. But then some of them will file because, well, you know, she got this guy over my house and over her house, and I don't like him, and it has nothing to do with the child. The child is in no danger. So when you tell them, hey, look, I used to tell them, hey, you can file, but your chances of getting custody is going to be slim, because I never said no, but the chance of getting custody is going to be slim because the child is not in danger. And that was the first question I would always ask them. What danger is the child in? And they just couldn't say nothing. So I'll let them file, but, you know, let the judge tell you, you know, no. So I
Hmm.
get that. I get
Hmm.
that, working from, you know, from working there. Um, Derek, do you think, um, do you think the child support system favors the man, the mother, or the father? And before you answer that, I want you to answer that when you first filed for child support, when you was first going through it at the beginning, and how you feel about it now, if there's any differences.
I can only speak for Pennsylvania because I've heard other stories in other states. Um, but I believe it favors the mother. I believe it still favors the mother. We have organizations here that are trying to turn that. So it's turning very slow, like a rusty doorknob.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's still 80-20 the mother in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Keith, what do you think? Keith, what state are you in again?
Yeah, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay. So what do you think about that, Keith? Do you think does it favor the mom or the father? When you first started, what were you thinking? And what do you think now in terms of who gets favored in the system?
um, I'm gonna answer that, but I'm gonna qualify what I'm about to say by saying this statement too. I don't want this to come off, and I don't even want this entire conversation because I have a video on my channel, which is how you found me, and
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten a lot of comments in this regard. I don't want this to sound like guys complaining about having to be or pay child support because that is not my intention in answering this
Right.
question at all. I'm just
Right.
being completely honest.
Right.
In my experience, I've only been married once. I got married when I was 18. We divorced when I was 32.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in my channel. I talk about a lot about growing up as a Jehovah's Witness. And when I left, I was in a very sheltered organization. So I didn't know anything about the world outside of that organization. Wasn't even supposed to really get divorced. So when that happened, I had no knowledge of how the child support system worked or how divorce worked because I just was simply uninformed, right? So at that time, I felt like no one was listening to me and everyone was listening to her. It seemed like no matter how honest I was, how much information I gave, it was never enough. And anything I said, no matter how positive it was, always seemed to be taken negatively. And it seemed the exact opposite for her. And now that I am out of that situation and just looking at the world in general, I still feel like, from the experiences of the friends I have that have gone through it, and just talking in general, that it is still that way. I understand that, children are expensive. That's a $250,000 bill. I understand that. And the mothers who have, primary custody have the child more than I do. I understand that. The issue that I have, though, and where I think the unfairness comes in, is simply because I make a certain amount of money, you still have to factor in that I have to have a life as well. I have to be able to take care of myself, my expenses, my bills, everything that comes in. And sometimes I feel like that's not factored in as much for the guy as it is for the mother. And
Okay.
that's where I think the unfairness kind of comes in.
Okay. And it's crazy that you say that. Not crazy, but it's funny that you say that because that was one of the major issues that I've heard, and I'm sure Yemi, you've heard it too, um, where the person paying child support, whether it be the mother or the father, they were saying, well, how am I supposed to live? And I do know that a certain percentage, they can only take a certain percentage of your income. And once it gets to that point, like let's just say I'm the youngest of 8, right? So let's just say no, no, I'll use somebody with 4 kids. Let's just say if they got 4 kids, and the, there's a certain percentage they can take of somebody's income. So if they take the maximum amount for those 4 kids, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, if they take the maximum amount for these 4 kids, and they can't take any more, and that mother has another child by that father, which I don't see why they would, but he gets a paternity test and finds out he's the father of the 5th child. I think then, if I'm correct, I think then if they have to take the child support and divide it up by the 5, but they can't take any more out. Does that make any sense? Hear me? You follow me, or am I? So let's just say this. If let's just say, I'm just going to throw out numbers. Um, I make, let's just say I make $10,000 a year. The most they can take out for child support, the maximum they can take out is 6,000, which leaves me with 4,000. So if a lady has 6 kids and they can take out 6,000, that's 1,000. That's $1,000 per kid. But then if she has a 7th kid, they can't take no more than 6,000 out. So now you've got to divide that 6,000 by 7 kids instead of 6. So I think that's how it goes. If somebody is wrong, if I'm wrong and somebody knows that, just send a comment and then Let me see it. I'll see the comments coming through. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that it's a certain amount they can take. But even with that certain amount that they can take, they may think the court may say, okay, this is enough for you to live on. But unfortunately, and I'm saying this in the most unbiased way, unfortunately, the court doesn't know. Sometimes stuff comes up, like a flat tire or your transmission goes. Because there's a lot of people on child support that's living check by check, and they ain't making it check by check. So if one thing goes wrong, your car goes out and it costs $300 to fix. That's money that you never had, and
Or
yeah, go ahead, Derek.
Or let's also factor in that if you have a relationship with the child, so their math says that you can live off of $4,000, but you also have the child, so you have to feed the child, because when the child is with the mother, and this is no mother bashing, if the child is with the mother, that money that you spend goes toward her household. But if you have a relationship with the child and the child is with you, you still have to feed the child. You have to have transportation for the child. You have to have entertainment for the child, activities, and the courts don't give a damn how you do it. We gave you $4,000 to live off of. So what happens is, lots of times you have to get a second job. Now, when you get the second job, you don't have time to have the child, which is like a vicious cycle, because in order to have custody of the child, you have to have a certain amount of overnights. If I have to work a certain job in order to feed myself and feed my kid when they're with me, I can't have the kid like that. So you understand what I'm saying? So when I go to court, already down, like I said in Pennsylvania, they award the child support before they even do the custody. So if I go in there already down, I'm on a hamster wheel. I'm fighting a losing battle. I have to, like me personally, in my own situation, I had to take a loss for about a year and a half in order to come back up to even, and in turn then rise above where I started, if that makes any sense.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I ended up filing myself, and it turns out she made more, so she had to end up paying me later. You dig what I'm saying? That's what I meant by it got better later. So
right,
like the courts don't take that into account at all. They don't care.
Agreed.
And I'm gonna leave it at that.
And then you mentioned something about getting an extra job just to make ends meet. But if you get an extra job, sometimes here comes that remodification.
Exactly.
Because you're making more, so and that's just not all mothers will do that, but some of them will, some of them will, and not all fathers will do that. Some of them will, some of them won't.
Right.
But you never know. Ali, have you ever had a case where have you ever dealt with anyone, maybe a mom who had custody and then it switched to the dad, or the dad had custody and switched to the mom? Have you ever experienced anything like that in terms of like who you work with, the clients you work with?
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I believe it's clear that the system is biased when it comes to men and women, when it comes to mothers and fathers. I think if you was to do a study, I think it would be clear. And because I've experienced this, and I've been in situations where I had to have talks with mothers who think it's okay to say, well, because I'm the mom, the child doesn't need to see the father, or they just think that they have all this right. And I think it's because the system has designed it that way, where you have, if I know that it's going to be in my favor, right? Because I've seen that a lot of females have this view, mothers have this view. So it's almost like, in my opinion, used as a weapon. And to me, like, we might have a conflict, and I know that I can use this system as a weapon against you, right? Because we know sometimes it's really about the personal conflict between you and that person. It's not really about the child.
Right.
And I'm not
Right.
saying it's like that 100% of the time, but it's like that, I believe, most of the time. Right.
Mhm.
And the conversations I have is, the father has just as much rights to the child as you, right? It's 50-50. No one person has more rights than the other. And secondly, um, shouldn't we be able, you don't have to like somebody, you don't got to love them, but you should still be able to be cordial enough, in my opinion, to be able to uh, think about the best interests of children and sit down and work something out without even going through the course. That's just my opinion.
Right. Right.
I feel like I don't like the court. I don't like the court system. I don't like how it's being abused. And I just feel like the problem with us is that we can't have good communication because all the personal conflict to be able to try to work something out.
Right.
So I think that we need to be able to get past the personal conflict and try to figure out how we can kind of like be understanding and compromise with one another, so we don't even have to take it that far.
Right. Right.
That's just my opinion. I have these conversations with. I do a lot of mediating, and it's kind of hard because when you deal with females, they automatically look at me like you're a female, so you should understand. But my view is not like you, honey.
Right. Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not the one to sit there and say, because we females or we both women, that I think on that level. I don't think like that.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and you do get caught up with I think like Yemi said about being able to kind of kind of be neutral. The part of the reason why I go out my way to participate in the custody and child support hearings is because, unfortunately, it's your word against that person.
Mhm.
So when I come into the situation, I can say, I've been to dad's house. I didn't see everything. Dad's house is appropriate. I know dad is doing X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? The same thing with mom. Because other than that, it's your word against that other person. They don't have an investigator going out saying, let me go check all this stuff out, which I believe they should hire a person to really verify the stories that you hear in court, but they don't do that, right?
Right. Right.
And just like Derek said, in Pennsylvania, um, it should be, I feel like the custody should be addressed first before we discuss the child support piece. But I feel like there should be like some type of mediation go forth. Then we just go in there and you just say, well, this is just what it is.
Right.
And as Keith said, like, feeling like you don't have a voice, because I hear that I hear it's like a broken record of the stories I hear from men saying the same thing that Keith said,
Right. Right. And
over again.
yeah. Yeah. And I know in Jersey and Yemi, I'm sure you can second this or agree with this, is that and things may have changed since I've been there, but when they come in and file, um I was always given the option to, depending on the story. Now, if it was something, if I've seen a mother, the parents come in together, don't get along with each other, don't like each other, but they were very cordial to each other,
Mm-hmm.
and just filing for custody. He would file,
Right.
and she would file, and they were cordial to each other. It wasn't like bad blood between them. So in that
Right.
situation, I was given, and correct me if I'm wrong, Yemi, I was given the discretion to send them to mediation or send them to court. Am I right? Am I correct, Yemi?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So basically, if we saw them and we felt like they were amicable, they were cordial with each other, um, instead of going to court, we would suggest mediation. And I know from experience that mediation um, is much more of a more lighter path
mhm,
to agreement
right.
versus court.
Yeah. Yep.
But most times, we try not to judge and say, okay, hey, well, they are cordial,
Mhm.
because they may leave the courthouse and things may have changed.
Yeah, yeah,
So again, so I may assume that they're good, face value, but that might not be the case.
right, right,
Um, so for the most part, I take I take their word for it.
right,
I mean, if it's court that they feel like would be a better um avenue for them, then we'd schedule it for court.
right, right,
If mediation was, then we'd go that path. But
right.
that's kind of a tricky situation right there
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you just don't know what is happening behind closed doors.
right. And most,
Uh, you
yeah,
know.
and I say most of the time, I would say 8 or 9 out of 10 times, I send them straight to court because like I said, we don't want to judge, but I can tell you it ain't gonna work out. But when I did assign mediation, we had different weeks. Each probation officer had different weeks
Hmm.
of what week they had mediation. So if it was a week that I had mediation, no matter what it was, no whose week, but there was times where I would do mediation, right? So I would meet with them. We discuss what they want, write down what they want, both sides, and then I'll ask, "Do you agree with this?" Sometimes I agree. They'll say like, I agree with this, but I don't agree with this. Okay, so what do you want changed? I want this changed. Do you agree with this? And then sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But if it does not, then it's like, okay, since you guys can't agree, I'm going to go ahead and send this to court. It goes to, you know, schedule them for court, and it goes to court. Um, the mediation is like an important piece, and like I don't do it all the time because you'll know your people because the same ones come in all the time. For me, it was the same ones coming in all the time. So we do the mediation, and um, if it didn't work out, we'll send them to court. Then the judge will rule on that. The judge will decide custody first. After he does custody, he will decide on. They'll do a child support. The guidelines. They'll run the child support guidelines. This includes everything: your income, her income, amount of kids you have. If you're putting money in your pension, that helps you. If your pension, your check takes money out for your pension, it helps the person that's paying child support. If you pay medical, it helped. If you pay for daycare, it helped. If you pay for college, it helped. All of that was factored in, every last bit of it, and then it spit out a number. And that was the number that you got. And the judge sometimes will use his own discretion. He may go higher or may go lower, depending on how that person, if he's, being arrogant and saying he not paying nothing in this, it just goes on. But the mediation is important. I think it's something important. And I want you guys to hear what happened to Keith in mediation. Let me tell you this before he tells you. When we did mediation, I think I had one time where somebody tried to bring their attorney. No, you got to go. This is a mediation between the two parents. You got to go. If they need to go to court, then you can go ahead, but you are not allowed. We would not allow any attorneys into mediation because if it's not mediation if you having attorneys in there. Mediation it's between you two. Like, you two discuss this together because sometimes attorneys can be a little influencing and like they can influence you to be mad as hell, or they can influence you to be a little bit more lenient. Unfortunately, most of the attorneys that my clients had, they were more like dog, like go get him or go get her. So no attorneys in mediation, just y'all two. So with that said, and Keith doesn't live in Jersey, but I want you to hear his story. Keith, tell him your story about the mediator, please. And it's not funny, but it's just crazy how this happens.
I can laugh about it now. Um, so we had our meeting. We had our mediation meeting. We met at the child support office. I actually got down there, and she was already in the office with the mediator. So I go in, and the lady starts asking me questions about my income, things like that. The longer the conversation went, I noticed she became more and more aggressive. She was getting, she was very aggressive. And I'm thinking, why is this mediator being so aggressive toward me? Right. and
Mm,
I noticed that she was aggressive toward me, but she was very, very nice to my
mm, mm,
ex-wife. And I was thinking, why is this happening? So the more we spoke, the more answers I gave, the more pushy she became. And it got to a point, like I told you yesterday, I had an injury, so I was taking some pain meds. I didn't realize that these pain meds were making me very much less patient than I normally am. So the more we talked, I got so upset because she wasn't listening to me. I just walked out of the office and we had a meeting at court at 1 o'clock. So I was pissed because I was thinking this woman is totally on her side. And I'm thinking as a mediator, you're supposed to be an impartial mediary. You're supposed to be someone who's not on anyone's side. You're supposed to be for the betterment of both of them. So I get to court. It's our turn. I sit on this side. And when I noticed my ex wife, she was sitting with the person that was the mediator. But this person wasn't a mediator. She was actually
You were
an
under her.
attorney. And
Wow.
so she was representing her and going back and forth with the judge. And I'm looking like, wait a minute, is this your attorney? Why is she here? So she was spouting all this information to the judge, and she had a certain amount of money that I made per month. And I was again trying to be honest and be good. I said, actually, that amount's not right. I make a little bit more. So she was like, well, we'll just withhold from the higher amount. Now I only have one daughter. I only have one kid. I think around that time, um, I was making somewhere around $2,200 a month, and they ordered me to pay $800 a month.
Mm. Wow.
And on top of that, my ex-wife took my daughter to school. I picked my daughter up from school every day. She would come back with me. We would, eat, hang out, have fun. Then I'd take her home, and then she would come with me every other weekend. So I was blown away by the fact that this person, and I think how she may have gotten away with it being older and looking back at it, because my case was several years ago. My daughter's 25 now. So I think we divorced, 32 for me was 15 years ago. But um, it was in a way that she never said, I am the mediator. I just came in and she started conducting the meeting. So I don't think
Mm,
she ever purported herself to be a mediator. I just
mm,
assumed because we were meeting for mediation that she
Mm.
was the mediator.
mm,
And
Wow.
so when I saw her in court, that's when things
Wow.
changed. So at that time, I wasn't I wasn't knowledgeable enough to say, hey, this is the woman that says she was the mediator. I didn't have that information. On top of that, I was so frustrated at that point. I was literally yelling at the top of my voice to the judge, begging him or somebody to listen to me. I literally was saying, nobody's listening to me. Would you please listen to me?
wow.
And she, the mediator slash attorney, was just being a bulldog about it. She was just trying to get more and more and more and more and more. So that was why in my video I stated to make sure that the mediator is actually a mediator,
Right.
because that
mm.
whole thing blew up in my face. It made it so much worse than it would have been had we actually had someone to mediate that situation for
Hmm.
us.
Right. Right. And that's crazy because, like, I don't know how they got away with that because, like I said,
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
in Jersey, it's
yeah.
scheduled, and you'll know who that
Mm-hmm.
mediator is because the name's on the letter that tells you got to come to court. You are
Yeah.
scheduled for you're scheduled with the mediator Andre Lewis at such and such time. But
Well, I will say here in Nashville, the way they schedule things is very chaotic. There would be
mm,
times when we would have a meeting at 8:30 and we wouldn't have our actual meeting until about 11:30 or 12.
Mm.
And there would be so many people that were scheduled at the same time that sometimes they would try to have your meeting in the lobby with everyone out there. And one
Oh
time the
wow.
lady asked me, she said, "You want to have your meeting now, or you want to wait to go into an office?" I said, "I don't want to talk about my personal business in front of 30 people. Yeah, we were supposed to be here and heard at 8:30. So why are we still here at 11:30, almost 12, waiting for our meeting?" It was always something crazy going on with the whole system. It was always a problem.
Right. And one thing I want to tell you, I've had a lot of people, and you mentioned this in your video too, when you was interviewing someone, an attorney. I've had a lot
Mhm.
of people while I was doing mediation walk out, and that is perfectly fine. If they walk out, if you don't like what you're hearing, and you be like, "Peace, I'm out. I ain't got to deal with this," and walk out, then it just gets scheduled. You're not
Mhm.
you're not bound to stay there and work something out. I Whatever happened in mediation, I'm not allowed to tell the judge that. The only thing I can do is schedule it and just say they could not work anything out. Now, if he said he was going to pay something in mediation, if he said he's going to pay this and pay that, and then he changed his mind, he didn't sign anything. He didn't sign the order. So, as far as if it's not documented, then it didn't happen. So, if any man or woman is in mediation, and if he or she does not feel comfortable with what's going on, walk out. And then, if you feel like you're being treated unfair, or that particular mediator is just like choosing leaning to one side, walk out and get a judge to hear your case. And that's very important. Very important. So if you're listening and you are going to mediation, take heed to that. All right.
Hey, and can I mention one more thing? I don't want to be a
Absolutely.
hog,
Go ahead.
but I
Absolutely.
would like to say too that besides besides the mediators, there are judges who are already known to favor women and will
Mhm.
dog men. So, I mean, there were times when I would hear people saying, "Okay, you do not want this judge because she is a total B to dudes about
Mhm.
anything." So, not only do you have to
Mhm.
worry about the mediator that you have, you also have to be concerned with the judge you get. So,
Right.
just
There
because you
you
have,
go.
you just never know what's going to happen. It's a toss up.
Right. Derek, I
That's true.
seen Derek and Ali, I seen y'all shaking your head when he said that. Derek, what was your experience with that in terms of, did you have any judges that you was like, "Oh, I got this judge, I'm gonna lose"? Did you ever feel that way?
Um, Not necessarily. I just knew stories, and the fact that they gave her support before the custody order, I already knew what it was hitting for. Um, I do want to say that in Pennsylvania, and like you said, this is to help the young brothers and some sisters that are going through this. Get a lawyer. Familiarize
Mhm.
yourself with the process because
Agreed.
the information is out there. They use a formula in Pennsylvania, excuse me, and
Mhm.
it's readily available. You do the formula, it'll tell you how much you owe. And well, I did have a situation. We went to see the master, and Keith, this is crazy because my son's mother is Jehovah's Witness. So the
Okay.
master was also a Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
So later on, she came back and told me after everything was settled, she was like, "Well, the master was somebody from our congregation," and I was like, "That don't matter because I knew what my rights were. I knew this formula, I knew how it worked, and I knew that if the master did not favor in my situation, knowing that you made more than me, that I could appeal that, and I could appeal that because it's written, it's in black and white, you know. Um, so they have to honor that. And I believe that's why the master went the way she went because they had to honor that. Um, but yeah, like getting back on subject, the information is out there. Familiarize yourself with it. Educate yourself with it. If you have a contentious relationship, use text messages. Always have a record of what was said, um, and try to do those overnights. Try to do those overnights because that's what it goes by. It goes by overnights.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and I
so
want
that's
to.
what I wanted to say.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that real quick. I know it's been we at the 46-minute mark. I'm sorry, y'all. I know we were supposed to have about 45 minutes of this, but let me
No,
ask you
it's
this.
cool.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
cool. I
I'm
talk
good.
about this all
Everybody,
day.
okay, and
Yeah,
if any,
I blocked out time for this one.
okay. So
Time
look,
is flying, man.
Gimme, I know you heard this before because I heard it. Every time they come in and file, I get at least one or two people per day, no, per week that would say, "Do you think I should get a lawyer?" We were not allowed to answer that.
Yeah,
Cannot
yeah.
answer that. And I was like,
Yeah.
totally up to you. But here's my thing. See, at first, like this was my opinion. And I wouldn't tell nobody this, but I can say it now because I don't work for them no more. But my thing is, and honestly, it can go either way. So I'm not right when I say this. But for me, I personally don't think I would get a lawyer because I know the system. I know, you know, and I always say this. If I go to court, me and Ali go to court because Ali says 2 plus 2 is 8, and I say 2 plus 2 is 4, and we got to go to a judge. I ain't worried about ruling against me because I know for a fact that 2 plus 2 is 4, and the judge, no judge is going to say 2 plus 2 is 8. So in terms of me going to court with a child, I know my rights. I know what I do, and sometimes this ain't always 100 proof. But I know what I do. I know what to say, and I know how the system works. So I'm confident that I can handle this on my own. But there's a lot of people who can't. There's a lot of people who don't know.
Check this out. You're absolutely right. But check this out. Also, a lot of fathers go in there, good fathers go in there saying, "I do my job," and they have to understand, which I had to understand. Common sense is not in the courtroom, only the law.
Wow.
So you have to familiarize yourself with the law of the subject that you're attending the court for.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That goes with anything.
Agreed.
You know?
Right.
Agreed.
So
right, and it's just it's those small things that it's the small things that you have to say. And I picked this up on Keith's interview. He was interviewing an attorney about child support, and I picked this up from her on Keith's YouTube channel. Check it out. That if you go in there and say, you know, because where he lives, and I think she was talking about Memphis, I believe. If you go in there and say, hey, don't go in there and say, I need to get my 80 days. You know, if you have custody, you'll get 80 days. If you're non-custodial parent, you get 80 days of visitation for the whole year. Don't go in there and say, I get my 80 days. You could say something like what Keith's guest said was, look, I understand I get 80 days. I want to know, I just want to know to make sure this is factored into my child support and stuff like that. So if you mention certain things that they think you don't know, they'll raise that eyebrow and be like, okay, we ain't dealing with no person that's intimidated by the court. We're not dealing with somebody who's here for the first time and don't know no better. I'm going to mention everything. Your Honor, you forgot to factor in my union dues. Union dues go in the child support guideline. Your Honor, I pay for the child's tuition too. If you don't say some of that stuff, they're not going to say it, you know? But
I will add this too. Even the attorney I talked to, her name was Coletra. In my video, one of the things I said was, don't go to court without an attorney. She even backed me up on that because a lot of the issues that I dealt with would not have been dealt with had I had someone that knew more than I did. And especially if the person that you're with in the case gets an attorney, you're screwed because that person knows, they know all of the law and you know nothing in comparison.
Right.
On top of that, just trying to address a judge properly is something that you need to know the law to be able to do. You just can't go up there and start talking to judge like we're talking now. That it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Right.
So
You're right.
I said, Don't go to child support court without an attorney. I think it's not very smart to do that. And I
Right.
know there's a lot of brothers out here talking about you can do this, you can do that, and I did this, and you can. The child support system is all about the government. They just trying, and attorneys work for the government, and that is BS. Because I haven't seen any of those people show the documentation where they went to court by themselves and won and did all this great stuff they talk about.
Yeah.
You need to have a damn attorney. It's just my opinion.
I agree.
And another thing, when you go into court, because I've seen this too, yo, don't go in there, yo, son. Yo, let me tell you, I've seen some cats come in there. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He's talking to a judge. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, we go over there. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the hand motion, the way I'm moving my body, this is how it was. Yeah,
But that's exactly why.
I go
that's
over there.
Exactly why.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And she gonna tell me I can't see my son. And I'm like, forget that. Now I said F that, judge, but I'm being respectful in your courtroom. I said, get that, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just like,
But you know what, Dre? It's sad that the demeanor of a person can impact the outcome.
yeah, because if you have if you have
because we can't fault this gentleman or young lady for if that's the way they address or communicate. I mean, but if they're still stating facts, the facts should be taken into consideration and not their behavior.
And you're right. And you're right.
Hidden racism.
Yep. And the unfortunate thing is, you 100% right. On paper and in reality, yes.
Right.
Unfortunately, in reality, in the society we live in, you will get judged and it's crazy. Like you would be surprised to see the difference of how you're treated, and because I've seen it, how you're treated when you're wearing a shirt and tie in a courtroom, and you're talking. And this is someone who I don't feel people should get dressed up in court. When I was a probation officer and I had to go to court, my supervisor pulled me out of court and said, "You got to tuck your shirt in." Why? I ain't the one on trial. I ain't the one that shot somebody. Why the hell do I gotta get dressed up? It's respect for the court.
Yeah, you represent the court.
Look, my respect for the court has nothing to do with what I'm wearing, and a lot of people will argue, will differ from that. They differ from that. I just don't think what I'm wearing has anything to do with my job. I'm the probation officer, and I told my supervisor when she said that, she pulled me out. I'm not the one that's going to court. And she laughed. She thought I was joking, and I'm just like this. I'm not the one that's going to court. Why? And I'm trying to figure out, why are you laughing? You think this is funny? But I'm just like, okay, she's a supervisor. Let me just tuck it in. And it's just, I think it's unfair. I do, but unfortunately, we live in a society that judges us, and they judge us from the minute we come in there, which leads me to my next question. I'm not one of those, in this particular case, I'm not one of those conspiracy guys,
I am.
Yeah, it's the world's getting, I'm not a deep conspiracy guy. I think about some stuff, but
bring it, brother.
I think, and I'm gonna ask you first, Ali.
The earth is flat.
I'm gonna ask all of y'all. Ali, I'm gonna ask you. Hello.
Hey, Keith, that's what he really want to ask you, man.
No. Look, do you think, all right, I'm gonna ask you first, Ali, and then I want all of y'all to answer too. Some of the answers might be the same. Do you think, and I'm gonna ask you the question, then I'm gonna tell you why I think this, but then I'm gonna have you answer the question. Do you think the child support system is a big part or designed to bring down or hold back the African American male? And let me tell you why I say this, because I honestly think it's not purposely designed, created to do that, but I think it has a significant role to breaking up the black family. Think about it. Now, hear me out on this. A couple, let's say they're married, they got kids. You divorce. Now you got to pay child support. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, let's just say the mother has custody and she gets child support. Now this man's held to a higher accountability of not only taking care of himself, but he has to keep up with giving money and paying child support to someone, right? Which he should. It's your child.
Mhm.
So you sometimes I've had a number of warrants because people wouldn't pay child support. So now you're doing time in jail because you can't pay child support. On the other side, with the women who have kids, not all of them, ladies, not all of them. I'm just using as an example. Quite a few of them that I've dealt with were getting benefits, like some type of rental assistance, welfare assistance, or something like that, and they living good. They're content. They were content with living. Some of them, not all of them, because I heard a few of them say they were content, and I'm again not all of them. I heard some of them say, "I get a check and I get child support. I ain't doing nothing." So now you got the woman, the African American woman, saying, "I ain't got to work," and that's I just depend on the government, which I think government wants you to depend on them. And then you got the father who's being locked up because he can't pay. Now that whole system, that family system is broken up, and I think child support plays a role in that. What do you think, Ali? I know I said a lot, yo. I know I said a lot, but and you don't
No,
have to answer that. If y'all can't answer
no,
that,
no.
let's skip
I'm
it.
good with it. I'm good with it. Of course.
Keith rubbing his hand like this. He can't
Of
wait
course.
to go.
Of
I'm waiting
course
for
it
this
is.
sister to spit
Listen,
this out.
I have these conversations all the time. So when we sit there and talk about like the prison industrial system, we sit there and think about everything that's been put in place. So when you kind of look at the system as a whole, and you kind of look at how it's designed. I mean, you don't pay, you get your license suspended, right? You get incarcerated, right? And then if they really want you to really be there for your child or really want you working, doesn't those things interfere with you working?
Right,
Right? You go to
right.
jail, you can lose your job, you get your license suspended. You might have a job that requires for you to have a valid driver's license, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then next thing you know, you're at risk of losing employment.
Mhm.
So I think it's really geared towards I mean, at the end of the day, to me, it's the same thing as like the prison industrial system. It's about the money, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's not like it's a nonprofit organization. It's a profit organization for profit, right? So is the child support system. They get money off of that,
Right, right.
you know.
Speak
So
on it,
and if,
sister.
and I do, and I don't think it's a coincidence that that is geared towards favoring women. I think that it's pretty much designed that way. And so when you go into court, like I had a friend who took his child's mother to court, filed and took her to court. Oh, when he got to court, the judge started grinding him up. He like, wait a minute, hold up. I'm taking her to court. She's not taking me to court. But to see how the judge immediately just assumed that he was there because she took him there, as opposed
Wow.
to other way around. So they just completely just from the rip just looked at him as like this guilty person who's just like she's bringing him to court about something he didn't do when it wasn't the other way around. So when you kind of see a lot of situations like that and just how a lot of people are losing um, a lot, and it's just like the same thing about how you're supposed to live. I don't think they care. I think when you go in, it's just about what we say, and that's just how it's going to be. I don't think they really care about other people's living situations. Sometimes they might consider you having other children from other people and all that stuff, but I really don't think that they. I don't really think. I think it's really designed, and I'm most definitely. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist because I feel like the research pretty much speaks for itself when you kind of look at all the systems and
Mm-hmm.
who's affected by it the most. I think it speaks for itself.
Wow. Keith, I'm gonna go to you because you was excited to answer this. Then I'm gonna get to you, Derek.
Oh, I think she said it all. That was a very, very good, great answer, Ali. I mean, I almost have nothing else to say to that. I mean, literally, she said it all, man. I mean, you think about the fact that per capita for the black population and other populations, there are so many more of us black men in prison, and a lot of them are there as a result of things like this. Planned Parenthood being in all of our neighborhoods. It's
Mm-hmm.
the separation of family is one of the things that has hurt Black people, the Black community, the
Mm-hmm.
most. And if even in my case, on my channel, I have a video called "How to Live in Your Car and Not Look Homeless."
Hmm.
I was homeless for 3 years because of this case.
Wow.
From
Mm-hmm.
2014 to 2017, I slept in the Walmart parking lot
Wow.
because
Wow.
before this case started, I had just started a business. I got rid of my apartment and I was using my business to sleep in while I built up my business. Well, when this case happened, I could no longer afford the lease, the
Right.
utilities, the child support. So I lost everything. I literally lost
Right.
everything because I couldn't afford all those bills.
Right.
Um, and no one cared.
Hmm.
So while I was homeless, she had just gotten people giving her all new stuff. And I get that. My daughter lives there. That's great. I'm glad you have a nice place. That's amazing. But at the same time, the fact that I lose everything because of this unfair treatment and you gain from it also shows me that they don't really care about me as much. And I honestly, I don't want them to care about me. I can do things on my own. I don't think the issue is that men want things to be done for them or I don't. I just want to be treated fairly, and
Right.
Mm-hmm.
being treated unfairly is what
Right.
causes a lot of us as Black people and Black men not being treated fairly is what causes us to lose so much. And that's what happened to me.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, I
Wow.
was able to rebuild everything, but it took 3 years. It took a long time.
Congratulations.
Wow. Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you,
That
brother. I
that's a big
appreciate it.
Yeah.
congratulations, man. I'm
Thank you,
glad
brother. I
you.
appreciate it.
That's something to
Right.
celebrate, man. For real.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I mean, this thing is bigger than just complaining about paying money. That's not why
It
I
is.
did that video. It's about teaching people, especially Black people, because as Ali said, we are affected disproportionately with this stuff. It's about teaching people how to do things the right way so that you don't end
Mm-hmm.
up where I was 4 years ago. You
Right.
know?
Right.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Agreed.
Let me ask you this, Yemi. Let's get to court and after court. Now, if someone loses a case, I mean loses a case, a custody hearing, they have to pay child support. The judge
Mhm.
rules on it. You have to pay this amount. Is that the final word? Is that it? What options do they have if they're not satisfied
Uh, um,
with the decision?
yeah, I know in Jersey they can always file
Okay.
an appeal to get back in front of the judge or the hearing officer to reconsider the order that was just put in place.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Okay.
again, what I used to tell my clients is that you always have uh, a right to file
Right. Right.
as many times as you want
Right.
for
Okay.
whatever.
Gotcha.
Just like you said earlier, you can't really tell them what the outcome would be. That's left up to a judge or a hearing officer.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So again, yeah. So there is always the right to file an appeal if you're not content with the judge's order or the hearing officer's order. And then it's
Okay.
up to the judge as to if he'll as to what his recommendation will be.
Right. Right. And give me,
Yeah.
I know, like if you start making more money, and the custodial parent says, "Okay, you're making more money. I think I'm gonna see if I can get a modification to
Hmm.
get more child support because you're making more
Right.
money." Does that
Right.
work in the opposite direction? If you're making less, the non-custodial parent, if they're paying child support and they're making less, can they also come in and modify and get it lowered because of their income?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, they can file for whatever. It's up to the court as to what their recommendation will be.
Right.
You
Right.
know.
Okay. Right.
So,
Okay.
but
So
I
I have a
think
question for Yemi.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
I wanted to ask Yemi a question. Yemi, so if the if the dad finds out that mom who has the child is
Mhm.
making more money, can he file for a modification informing the court that the mom is making more money and they will adjust it?
He can file. Again, yeah, he can
No,
file.
I'm just because
Yeah,
that
yeah,
happens.
yeah, yeah. You know what? And it's funny because I've never heard of that predicament before. But he could file, and again, it's up to the court if they'll make that adjustment or not.
Right.
Um, and that's pretty much all I can say.
Right.
Because they see it the other way around. That's why I
Yeah,
wanted to know.
yeah,
Like we
yeah,
see it the
yeah,
other way around. So
yeah, yeah,
wanted to know how that
yeah,
worked.
yeah.
Let me
And I
ask,
know you talked, and I know you talked earlier about accountability and for the courts to implement like a investigator or a mediator to hold the other party accountable. Um, I think this would be a good instance where accountability or a investigator could
Hmm.
be used.
right,
You
Right.
know,
right. And
um,
we got a couple of comments here. The Philly Street Poet Show. What's going on? What's going on? Great topic. Uh, he said, "Speak, Ali, speak." So he representing Ali
Hey,
out here.
yeah, she
Okay.
did that, man.
He said,
She
"Great
did that.
show. I appreciate it. Philly represent, man. Thanks for holding this show down, man. I appreciate it very much, man." So let me ask y'all this. Okay, no, this question right here is for Keith and Derek. All right. So we all got bills, right? I pay my bill. You know, I pay it a week later, sometimes, maybe. Oh, we didn't get the payment. Oh, you didn't get the payment. Hold up. There the payment right there. I keep documentation of it. Because if you don't have documentation, it never happened, right?
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly.
Derek,
That's right.
Derek and Keith, were y'all like that? Did y'all keep track of everything that you were like, all the money you were dishing out? And I ask this for those who are actually paying child support. Yo, like listen to this answer because it could
Man,
be
go
important.
on, do this, Derek. Go ahead and take this one, Derek. You go. You got it, brother. Go first.
Um, hey man, I will go down to the court and pay it and get a receipt, man. That's how much on it I was, because like someone was saying earlier, you lock me up and I can't work. You know what I'm saying? You want me to pay child support, but I don't pay it, and then you lock me up, I lose my job. I'm hurt now. You know what I'm saying? I can't do nothing for myself or him, and it's a vicious cycle. So, man, I would go down to Filbert Street when it was there, and I go right to the clerk. I pay it, give me my receipt, and I kept on. Listen, man, I still got receipts, and that stuff was 6 years ago, man, and I still got my receipts just in case.
Derek, like just in case, huh? Derek, like just in case, man. You got the receipt, man.
Just in case I get that knock at the door.
Derek, you like this? No, man. I paid that in 1989, man. You lying, man.
I got all my paperwork. I got the custody order. I got it highlighted in certain places in a lockbox, man. So, yo, leave me alone. I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
We ain't got no business.
Yo, that's amazing. What about you, Keith?
That's smart.
That's smart. That's
smart. Yeah. See, my answer is not as smart because I was not as smart as Derek. So mine starts off with some nonsense. My see, I'm trying to watch my mouth because I got a bad one.
Hey man, look, man, go ahead. You say what you gotta say. Look, I'm saying what I feel. So I'm inviting you to say what you feel. Say what you feel, brother.
Okay, brother. I got you. My dumb ass would always start off giving her money. I thought that was gonna work. See, that doesn't work.
You fell for the banana in the tailpipe. Yeah, you fell for the
banana
in the tailpipe routine.
She got them. Well, she didn't get me. They got me. The system got me. Because it's not her fault. But I would give her money. I didn't know until I got to court or when I got to the child support office that shit don't count.
Right.
That's
Right.
a gift.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They have no
Yeah.
record of it, so you never gave her
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
So I gave her a lot of money before we got, even before we got the case started, I was giving her money. But once we got the case, then at that time, of course, yes, I got money orders. I sent the money orders through the mail. And that's how it all, went down. Then I didn't have any problems with them not receiving money. They always got it. And then at the very end, when I paid a large lump sum, I said, "You're gonna close this case now, right?" And they said, "Well, it's gonna take a few days." Yeah, all right, a few days.
Yeah.
My ass. I need that
Yeah.
paperwork so I
Yeah.
know that this is fixed because, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, because we're talking about money, but child support completely wrecks your credit.
Yes, it
Wow.
Child
does.
support will
Yeah.
mess up
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
credit,
Yeah.
and people
That's the
don't know
subject.
that.
Yeah.
That's
People
another
do
thing.
not know that at all.
Credit.
So even on my video, I talked about that because I help people repair credit as well. But see, for a long time, Tennessee Department of Human Services showed up on my credit report. And this is another thing, since we're talking about money, I'm gonna go there real quick.
Go ahead.
If you start your case and you are ordered to pay back child support, then according to the system, you are in arrearage.
I was going
Arrears.
You are behind.
I was going to bring that up. That was my next thing.
You are
Yep.
behind.
Yep.
So that shit that shit affects your credit negatively because you
crazy.
are behind in payments, especially if you were ordered. I was ordered to pay $4,000 in back child support, which means from the day my case started, according to the system, I was $4,000 in arrearage. So when I went and talked to them about that, I said, wait a minute, how am I in arrearage when I've been paying from the day that this case was ordered? I said, arrearage or an arrears means you were ordered to pay something that you have not paid. That's
Right.
not what this is. This is back child support that I've been ordered to pay, that I've been paying since the day I was ordered to pay it. Now, how can those two things mean the same thing? Because they don't. One is not being paid and one is being paid. Those are not the same thing.
Right.
The counselor I was talking to said, you know what? You're exactly right. But the system doesn't see it that way.
Yep. And and I was going to say, that was my next thing. It's amazing that you mentioned that. I was going to say, for all of you who are watching and all of you who are new jacks to this game, first kid, you going to, child support, whatever, first time going to court. Look, if someone files for child support on June 2nd, today, and their case doesn't get heard till August 2nd, and the judge grants them child support, it starts from the day they filed, not from the day the judge says you got child support. So you are going to be in arrears like heck, like 2 months back. So just know that. Just know that. You're going to start off on James Brown start off on a good foot, but you will not. You will start out in arrears. You'll start out owing money. And unfortunately, it's messed up because it does affect, like you said, Keith said, it affects your credit. So just know that when somebody's filing and stuff like that, because it's a messed up part of the system. I think that's broke, that needs to be fixed.
Can I say one more thing? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ali. No. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I did have a question. You probably can answer this. So because I just want to make sure I'm clear.
Yeah.
So if the person filed and suppose you don't get your case heard a year later, but you've been paying, you got proof that I've been paying something, and it might not be, it can be more or less of what the court finally decides, right? They would give a credit to that, right? Is that what you were saying?
I'm not sure. It depends on the state, because I've never seen Jersey give a credit.
How can you be, because there's okay, so they filed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you come into court, when you finally go to court, when they want to decide, yes, you have to pay, And suppose they say, okay, you have to pay the 4,000, and suppose, like, hypothetically, you paid 3,500. Then would they say their arrears is only 5?
I don't know.
I
That's a
can
good
I can
Because
question.
you're
Like,
showing,
I can
you're
answer
showing
something to
that
that.
you paid.
I
okay.
can
Yeah.
answer
Huh?
something to that. I can answer
Okay.
something to that, Ali. Now, in my case, what happened was we my story is so long. I'm trying to cut this down so I can answer your questions succinctly and quickly. Um, we separated for a long time before we actually started the divorce proceedings. Okay. Which is a whole nother issue that the council was like, y'all not even divorced yet? And I was like, no, which is a whole nother thing. But
Mhm.
um I am a hip hop choreographer. So I would go out of town. At that point, I was teaching at this performing arts school in Louisiana. So every month, this is before the case was filed, every month they would fly me to Louisiana. When I got to Louisiana, I would get a money order for $300 or $400 and send it back to her. Now, the judge honored the months that or the year that I was in Louisiana because I told him I sent money orders back for this amount. My dumbass didn't actually have the money orders or the receipts for the money orders, but she knew that I did that. So she didn't know whether or not I had the receipts for the money orders. So they didn't contest that. So the
Okay.
judge said, okay, I will credit you that much money, but you still owe this amount of money.
Right.
And I
Right.
said, Judge, I gave her this amount. And this is another warning. I said, Judge, I gave her that same amount of money every month, whether I was in town or not, Judge. I said, Judge, are you saying to me that I would fly all the way to Louisiana and make sure that I sent her money, but I wouldn't send her money when I live in the same city with her? He said, it doesn't matter. You don't have any proof of it. So I can
Yeah.
only credit you for the amount that
Mhm.
you have proof for. So that's what
Right.
happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I understand the proof. I'm just saying, if you actually had the proof, you would have got credit for it. But because you couldn't
Right,
provide it, and she
right,
didn't contest it to be like, show them receipts, it
right.
could
Because
have
she
went the
knew I
other
did it.
way.
It could have went a
Wow.
whole
Right.
nother way. Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. Well, look, we're gonna wrap this up,
Mhm.
and I'm with just some myths, some do's and don'ts. I'm gonna mention some do's and don'ts real quick, and then I'm gonna get your final opinions, and we out of here. That's simple.
Mhm.
One of the myths, I don't want you to believe this. Please don't believe this. It says people are saying that a certain percentage of the child support you pay goes to the government or whatever. If you pay $100 for child support, the $100 goes to the custodial parent. I don't know where everybody's getting, and I don't know where everybody's get. Maybe it's a different state. I don't know. I doubt it, but I I think the hundred. If you pay $100, it goes to the custodial parent in Jersey anyway.
Mm.
So that's a myth. And if somebody's going through that, and if you can prove that it's not a myth, hit me up. I'll come back on the show and apologize to you and tell you that I was wrong. All right.
Mm.
Quick do's and don'ts. I don't got too many do's, but I got some don'ts. Don't pay cash. And if you, yeah, don't pay cash. Pay money order. Get a paper
Yeah.
trail. Get a paper trail of everything
Mhm.
you do, so you can have some proof. So you don't fall for that banana in the tailpipe, because you might not know. All right. So get receipts for everything. Even if y'all are on good terms. Even if you get her something for her birthday. Even if she gets you something nice for your birthday. Oh, you're the sweetest dad in the world. Save the receipts, because
Right.
it don't stay daylight for a long time. Sometimes it gets dark. Unless if you live in Alaska, you can wait 6 months. But it gets dark. So don't think, just be cautious. Don't look at it in a negative way, but just be cautious. Don't lose your temper in court. I've seen that. Yemi, I'm sure you've seen that.
Mhm.
I'm sure y'all probably all seen that. Losing your
I've
temper
done
in
that.
court is not going to get what you want. It's the only thing it might get you is a couple of days in jail, contempt. All right. So just keep calm, and you fight you fight back by appeals, and you fight back by getting yourself a lawyer. You fight back by doing what
Mhm.
you got to do. That's the best thing you can do, because some people are miserable, and even if you're doing the right thing, and you're happy, and you got another significant other, and you're paying your child support, they're still going to come at you, and it has nothing to do with them wanting more money. They just don't want to see you happy. Men
Right.
and men and women. I've seen both sides, so this
Mhm.
ain't just a man thing or a woman thing. Um, I said keep your one thing I want you to do is keep your receipts, but don't believe the hype that child support uh, is something that you can stop. You, it's like it's not voluntary. If you get brought to court, you have to pay child support. You're gonna pay child support. The only way you're not gonna pay child support is if you give up your parental rights, and then you won't pay child support. But why would you do that? I've seen people do that. As crazy as that may sound, I've seen people do that just so they don't have to pay child support. So
Wow.
I wouldn't go for that, which is kind of crazy. Um,
Okay.
don't go to the courtroom. One more. Don't go to the courtroom telling the judge stuff they don't need to know. Um, I
Mhm.
had one guy who's like, "Yo, I make money. I make money." Judge was like, "Empty your pockets." He pulled out $4,000 because he was in arrears too. I think it was like over $9,000. So judge told him to empty his pocket. He had $4,000 in there. I was in the court that day. Bailiff give her that money, gave her cash right then and there. He said, put it on the record that he did pay $4,000. So
That's
be
not
careful.
fair.
Yeah, be careful what you say, because that $4,000 could have been you something, but still,
Mm-hmm.
that's what
He should have had to go get a money order.
that. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. That's what happens when you know.
Mhm.
I had one guy. Real quick before we go, I had one guy say, "I'm a carpenter." Well, how much do you make? Judge kept asking him about 4 times. The judge was really trying to work with him. How much do you make? Well, I don't know. Being a smart ass, I don't know. Okay, so instead of computing his child support for minimum wage, the judge had the discretion to take the national average of a
Wages
carpenter
of a carpenter.
and
Yeah.
count that as his salary, and that's what he did.
Yeah.
And the guy wound up. He's like I think he calculated that making him 70,000 or something like that, or 50,000.
Wow.
And he was like, "I don't make that much money." Well, when I asked you 5 times, you say you don't know. So how do you know you don't make that much money if I asked you 5 times and you say you don't know? You're paying it based on this. If you when you
Ridiculous.
bring your receipts, you can do a modification, come back and file, do a modification, and that was that. So
Wow.
don't
Dummy.
be that
Yeah.
guy. Don't be that guy.
Mhm.
Don't be a Clarence. Okay.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna say his last name. Don't be a Clarence. All right. But that's gonna be it for today. Yo, let me I would just get a quick final thought from all of you. Quick final thought, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Ali, quick final thought.
Just pretty much like what you said. I recommend for both parties to hire an attorney, but actually learn the system.
Right.
Learn what you're about to get into. Get an attorney, especially since I believe the conversation you were saying about how some people don't know how to present in court. You know, you don't know how to speak in court, or like you said, if you have you short tempered, you don't want to go in there and they just judge you. Um, and I think that's just it. I think that just learn the system, have an attorney, and I recommend that if you can work it out without the courts getting involved, I suggest for y'all to try to really work it out without the courts.
All right, Derek. Final thought.
I suggest no matter how frustrated you get, how deep you get into the system, keep the child out of it. Do not vent to the child. Do not badmouth the child, the other parent to the child. Keep the child out of it. That's your only sanity in this situation.
Right.
Yes, that's a good point. The child ain't got nothing to do with what the father's doing.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Keith, final thoughts.
What Derek said was going to be what I was going to say too.
Say it
So,
again,
yeah.
brother.
Say it again, brother, if you have to.
um, and I'll give I'll give a reason as well. Yeah, keep be as amicable with each other as possible. When we were going through this, it really negatively affected my daughter, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
um, one thing that I think people don't think about when they're going through cases like this, um, is that when your child is a child, one, they remember everything, and two,
Amen.
One day that child is going to turn into an adult that you will have a
Mhm.
conversation with, and that
Mhm.
adult that you remembered as a child is going to tell you everything that you think you may not that you think you want to hear, but they're going to tell
Mhm.
you some stuff that you didn't think they would say because you've always looked at them like a child. My daughter
Mhm.
and I had a conversation in the park one day. We got some wine and a blanket and we sat and talked. And I looked at her and I thought, I had no idea that you felt that way. So your child will remember a lot of the things that you're doing while they're little, and it will affect them when they get older, and you affecting them will affect you. So if you
Yes.
can at all costs, like Derek said, make sure you are as amicable with the mother or the father as you possibly can.
Good word.
Mhm.
Good word. Yemi, final thoughts.
Uh, I'm gonna piggyback on what Derek had said earlier. Learning the policies, educate yourself. Utilize your county's court websites. Everything's laid out there for you to to be informed of. And and if at first you don't succeed, with your cases, keep on trying. And hopefully someone will hear you out. Um, that's basically it.
All
Don't
right.
give up.
All right. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Keith, I want to
Right.
take
Right.
this time real quick to just can you just let them know about your channels? Let everybody know about your channel.
Yeah, man. Excuse me. Thank you for that. I appreciate it, brother.
Hmm.
I have two. One is called My XJW Life. Well, that one is called K Fits My Life. And this is when I help people with just different aspects of life, health, relationships. I talk about things that I've gone through and how I got through them, such as me, again, being homeless, how I rebuilt my credit when I was homeless, how I got a new car while I was homeless, how I moved into an affluent neighborhood in Nashville from being homeless to that. So it's just about little tips and things that I've gone through and how I've helped myself and just trying to help other people. My other channel is called My XJW Life, where I help people who grew up as Jehovah's Witnesses like I did. And once I left, I lost my mother and father, and all of my friends no longer speak to you. So you basically lose
Right.
everything that you had growing up. So I help people who have gone through that to just deal with life after being in that situation and moving forward. So I'll do live streams. I have people call in. They'll talk about their experiences. I'll talk about mine. We're just trying to help people move on with their lives, with the next chapter of their lives. So that's what I do.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Y'all make sure y'all check out his YouTube channel. All right. So
Will do.
that's gonna do it. Just so y'all know, I do have shirts now. Let me stand up a little bit. I got shirts. I ain't trying to make a whole
Oh.
bunch of money off of them. I just want y'all to know I do have shirts. They
Yes, you are. You need to make some
yeah.
money, brother. Make some money.
they'll
You
Right.
gotta
be.
That's
cop me
right.
one, man.
I'll put it on the
I'll
website
get one.
tonight. Thank you, brother. I'll put it on
I'll
the
You
get
got that in
one.
black?
website. I should have put it on there. I got it in black and I got it in red. Um,
Oh man.
so if you're interested, I'll put it on the website tonight. I meant to do it way before then, a couple of days before, but I totally forgot. So I'll put it on there, and you can go to the website and buy one and support. I appreciate it. You can also go to the website, Speak Now, Hold Your Peace, and you can catch up on some of the episodes that you haven't seen. This was without a doubt one of the best episodes that I've done. I felt it was very informative, and I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people. So I want you guys to stay on when we go out with this intro. Just stay on. Thank you for watching. Love you all. And again, I thank you for your support, and we appreciate you. We love you. Thank y'all for coming through. All right, we out. All right.
Thank you for watching the Speak Now Hold Your Peace live broadcast. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and join us on the Speak Now Hold Your Peace Facebook group.